Welcome to Therapy is Dope with Alicia.
And Julie, let's make self help fun again. No, seriously, laughter is the best medicine.
Come and join us as we introduce new ways of thinking and being.
And hopefully get you laughing along the way.
Hello, hello.
We're back, and we brought to you today social media.
Social media.
Technically, we
sing.
didn't bring to our social media, and yes, Alicia had to sing it.
Yeah, technically, who was it? Mark Zuckerberg or his roommate who started social media.
Yeah. But we wanted to talk about the implications of social media because there's good and bad, right? Good and bad to everything. And with social media, if you use it to your advantage, it has made people millionaires, but it has, brought people into deep depression. And I just mentioned to her, I said, "Oh, I don't have social media. I'm just too weak to use it." And you're like, "What do you mean?"
Yeah. What does
Uh,
that mean?
it just means that I know that I will be really hurt from all the comments. I know that I will start looking at the number of likes and using that to my instant level of instant gratification, and it's going to change my mood for the day.
Why do you assume that people are going to leave nasty comments?
Because people do, don't they? Maybe, I don't know. Isn't there
I
a
mean, if you
lot of
have like 100,000 followers, I'm sure someone's gonna say something negative, but I mean, nobody's posting negative shit on my social media every day.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, I think we had a video that quote unquote went viral on TikTok, and people did have negative things to say on there, but like that's when you hit like 100,000 views. And
What
most of
was
your stuff usually doesn't hit that many views.
That's true. What what was the most negative thing, and did it hurt you?
Yeah, I think every negative thing hurts me because I'm sensitive. But I don't even remember now. Like there's two things that I can remember. One of them was somebody saying that acupuncture was pseudoscience, which we do acupuncture here. So that's what the video entailed. It was talking about the services that we do here. And there was one person who was really cool about it, and I sent him an article from John Hopkins, and he was like, "Oh, I guess maybe I was wrong. Like I haven't done my research recently." And then there was another person who just like continuously was arguing with me. And at some point, of course, I just let it go. Um, because people start to get personal with things and say like, "Oh, you're just trying to take people's money." And I was like, why does it bother you that something that you can't prove helps people? And I guess I don't even remember what the answer to that was, but that was like my argument. Like, okay, maybe it's not for you, but some people find relief in this. And if that's the case, why does it bother you that people are doing it? And then most recently, somebody left a negative comment about uh, I think I made a video saying something about men, and this guy commented and said something like, well, women don't want nice guys, and that's the problem. And I said, well, sometimes that's true. I'm not going to argue with you about that. But usually, after women experience a couple not nice guys, they change their mind about that and they want the nice guy. And he's like, oh, yeah, once they're 30 and they have kids, no man wants that. And I was like, whoa,
What?
excuse me, sir. And I don't remember what I said back to him. I think I said something like, sounds like you need to talk this out. I'm available if you want.
Oh, that was such a good response.
But yeah, it does. It gets me all riled up and I get upset and then I let it go because who are these people and why do they matter? And not only that, you have to remember that hurting people hurt people. And the other thing is, I always think about who just takes the time out of their day to write negative stuff on people's pages. And there are people who love to do it, and they're called trolls. And there's a name for them on the interwebs. And it's just, it's mind blowing. Like, this has no effect on you whatsoever, but you just feel like you need to say something negative right now. Cool. And that will, I mean, the bigger a person gets, that's definitely going to happen. But you just have to know that there's going to be a portion of people who dislike you for unknown reasons. And that's okay. Everybody doesn't have to like you. Everybody doesn't have to agree with what you're doing. And everybody doesn't have to rent space in your head.
Yes. I say yes, but I freely rent the space in my head so easily. It's like, does anybody want to rent? Any renters? Renters available, you know?
I have space, guys.
The requirement for this space is very low. So that's what I'm worried about. I don't know, because I've seen studies, and this is way before. This is like 5-10 years ago, even have proved this, and now more so, since I have more years to study this. But the increased use of social media has a direct correlation with a level of happiness, a lower level of happiness. So it actually lowers your happiness the more you do social, the more you spend time on social media.
I just saw a video of Esther Perel talking about this with another guy who was on a TED Talk, but I can't remember his name. And they were saying the reason that social media gets people down is because people are only posting their best moments. You know, like, for example, on my personal Instagram, I mostly post about my children, and I'm not posting pictures of my kids throwing fits or refusing to do what I'm asking them to do, or screaming and crying, or giving me hell at dinner. Of course not. I am posting their cutest pictures, their happiest moments. And so if somebody looks at my personal Instagram, they might think, oh, look at this cute family. They just have everything. Meanwhile, literally almost every day, I'm like, why did we have kids?
And to the listeners out there, Alicia's head face got extremely tomato red as she screamed into the microphone, why did we have kids?
I literally said it this morning, so it's fresh. It's fresh on deck. But the point is just that, you know, we're looking at other people's happy moments and we're thinking, oh, I wish I had that. Oh, I wish I could do that. Meanwhile, you know, the person in Thailand probably got food poisoning on day 2 and they were shitting their brains out for 3 days.
Yeah, there's a really good quote for that. And it's, do not compare someone else's highlight reel to your behind the scenes reel.
Yeah. That's why I like TikTok. Yeah. But that's why I like TikTok, because TikTok is known for its authenticity, and people are like crying on there. People are telling you about their bad days. People are being real and talking about their mental health. So, and there's a lot of information. There's a lot of professionals sharing good information. I prefer TikTok over everything, but that's a whole other story. The point is, you can cater your algorithm, and that's something that's really important for you to know too, should you decide to get on Instagram, because you don't have to look at, like, I don't look at my friends' lives on Instagram most of the time. Every now and then I'll go through there and look at that. But I follow all kinds of stuff on Instagram. So I get like mental health quotes and other wellness people and all kinds of stuff. So I'm like trying to feed my mind with that kind of stuff and not even looking at what other people have going on.
Can you control that? When you say control the algorithm, you really could type out, oh, only search for these?
You can mute people's stories. Like if you find yourself getting too involved in somebody's life and you're like, really, there's this one girl, okay, I'll talk about myself. There's this one girl, Cleo Abrams. I found a video of hers on TikTok that I really liked. So I started following her and I'm super envious of her life. She basically like travels around the world and goes to spas and her experiences look amazing and she's going all over the place. And I'm like, oh, this is the best. Now I haven't stopped following her for that. But you can, if you find yourself getting too involved in somebody's crap, you can mute their stuff so that you're not seeing it when you look through things. Or if somebody like back in the day on Facebook, people were getting way too political and it was getting kind of crazy. So I just unfollowed a bunch of people's stories so that I don't have to see their stuff. And I don't think I'm saying that right. I don't think it's their stories, their feed, maybe. Maybe that's what it's called, like muting their feed.
Okay, because I feel like again, it goes back to another trigger of insecurity or over analyzing maybe. But what if you'll go, oh, I don't want to follow this Abrams girl. But then maybe this Abrams girl is like one of your best friends, right? And you go, oh, I don't want to follow it because I get so envious and I just feel bad. I actually feel bad about myself when I follow her stuff. It has nothing to do with her and nothing to do with her like at all and what her intention is when she posts that. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying my reaction, right? And so my reaction is, oh, I'm so jealous. I wish I was her. It makes me feel bad, makes me compare, and then makes me feel sad. So I'm trying to unfollow her. But then what if she's one of my best friends? I unfollow her and she goes, hey, why did you unfollow me?
Well, that's what I was saying wrong. It's not unfollowing them. It's just like muting their information or removing them from your feed. So
Okay.
part of your algorithm, like on Facebook, is who I actually don't even know how Facebook's algorithm works, but there were people on my feed that would come up, and if I didn't want to see their stuff, I could just mute them specifically so that they're still my friend. They don't know that I can't see their stuff. I just am not interested in seeing whatever it is that they're posting. So some of the algorithms are so sensitive that they can tell what you like and what you don't like. So they only show you the things that you like. But with Facebook, I do remember specifically having to go in and like select that I didn't want to see that person's stuff.
Yeah, I would like to do that. So if I'm a person that has joined Facebook when it first came out when I was in college. It was in 2006 or 2007 when it first started. Right?
Listen, we don't need to
Aging
be throwing
myself.
years around here.
I know. I'm actually really looking forward to my 40s because I think my 40s have kind of probably be the best decade of my life thus far. So I cannot wait to celebrate and ring in the big 40, which is next year, baby. Anyways.
I told a client that I was getting
invited.
close. Oh, thank you. I was getting close to 40 because she was saying that at 40 you have to start doing mammograms. And I was like, damn, I'm going to have to start those. And she's like, oh, are you close to 40? And I was like, yes. But thank you for acting surprised.
Wow, you're so far from 40. I do feel complimented when people are like, wow, you're not 40. But I also kind of feel sad because how women, and I'm so happy that Michelle Yeoh, when she won the Oscars, her first Oscar, and she said, women, this is proof we're still in our prime,
Aw, that's awesome.
older. Yeah, that made me tear up. And that's what I wanted to, that's the whole point, like celebrate our 40s. And when Oprah turned 60, she celebrated. She's like, I've never been happier. I've never been healthier. I've never been, X, Y, and Z. And it's like, yeah, let's just say it and be us, and just support each other. And I think that's what I'm scared about social media, because I know that if I called you, I know if I went into my contacts and I reached out to any one of my friends and I told them that I'm struggling with something, I know the response would be like, are you okay? I want to be here for you. What can I do to help? And the thing with social media is I'm being vulnerable. I'm showing somebody something that I'm proud of doing. And I've been working on this, I don't know, bread sample for a really long time. I finally got it. And I was like, yes. And then I put it on Facebook and they go, ugh, gross. Or, oh, I do that every day or whatever. And it belittles my feeling towards it. And it makes me feel shitty.
Somebody just recently wrote on, we have a video on our float tank, and somebody just recently wrote, you could just go to the beach for that. And I just responded and said, yes, that is an option. However, it is missing the sensory deprivation part because the beach tends to be pretty people-y. So, you can say, oh, that's awesome that you made this at home. Congratulations. Maybe we can swap recipes.
But I think
you could say something like, yes, you can make it at home, but there's nothing better than someone else making it for you.
That's true. But then it goes down to my energy, right? Effort and energy. Do I have, and I always see it like as a budget, right? And it depends. And I actually follow the way that this person spoke about putting your energy towards people, right? And she calls it, and she had a TED talk about it, and she called it basically her fuck budget. How many fuck bucks do you have, and how many fucks can you give?
Okay.
Yeah, I love this, right? And let's say we have a budget of 100 fucks to give this month.
Okay.
And I have like, how many fuck bucks can I give to this? So if I'm constantly reading my negative thoughts and responding, I'm using fuck bucks to respond when I could use those fuck bucks to be spending with my loved ones.
You don't have to respond. You don't have to respond to anyone. If you respond, it does trick the algorithm into thinking that post is more important. And so it just brings more activity to it. If there's a big battle in the comments, regardless of who's engaging in the battle, that post is going to get more views. But you don't have to comment. It doesn't have to, you don't have to acknowledge it. You don't have to do anything with it.
Yeah.
You always have that option.
I just don't want to be affected by it. I don't know if I could control that because I'm one of those binge people. So once I open the social media Pandora's box, I'm gonna be like on it for 3 hours and be like, what happened to the last 15 hours? Did I sleep last night? And I'm gonna be like, no, I really want to see this cat. She was chewing on a marshmallow for 18 minutes. And then the cat's sister started joining in. No, dude, I am not doing that. But the bad side of that is I actually have no idea what my friends are doing ever. Like I ran into somebody today and he's like, yeah, my son, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, you have a son? And he's like, yeah, he's 2 years old. I was like, oh my God. I was like, I don't know what anybody's going. I was like, can I get out from underneath this rock at some point?
You can. It would just be hard. Because you would have to have some level of constraints on your social media so that you're not spending 10 hours on social media. One of my clients, now I don't know how to do this, but one of my clients put a lock on her social media.
Oh,
and after a certain amount of time, it locks her out. She can't get in unless she has a certain password. And she made me set the password, and she's never at once asked me for it.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So, that's a good one. All right.
So she gets kicked off after I don't know how much time she gave herself, but after a certain amount of time, she gets kicked off.
Do you imagine she put 8 hours?
That's why she hasn't asked.
Yeah, she's never asked. Never gotten that.
That's funny.
11 hours a day. It's only 11 hours a day.
That's it. That's all I have to offer. Yeah, the iPhone tracks all of your screen time anyway, so it'll tell you if your screen time's up or down and how long you spend on each app.
Yeah.
And the other thing too, as far as tricks of controlling it, I heard a speaker say that if you look at your social media first thing in the morning, it triggers your brain to think that that's important. So all day long, you'll feel the impulse to check your social media. So if you can avoid looking at it first thing in the morning, then the impulse isn't as strong.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, we build habits.
I know. And I'm just finishing the book Tiny Habits too. Oh man. It's our whole lives are just habits.
Yes,
Familiarity.
yes, that's true. I was talking to a client about the fact that some experts say that we are programmed by age 7. I think that's a little young. I'm like, really? Everything about you is programmed by age 7? I mean, they used to say we were programmed by like 2, and now they're saying 7. I feel like it's probably more like 12, 13. I don't know though. Who am I? Anyways, the point is basically your automatic way of being is settled in your childhood.
Hmm.
So
I believe in that the foundation and your personality could be based on that, but I think your have the way that you live life today may be different from your personality or character that you built at 7, because I know for me I had a lot of trauma between 6 and 14. So although my, let's say my 6-year-old, right, was the character of my 6-year-old was set, um I was very traumatized, and it might have scared it off, or manipulated it or mutated my character during those years, because they're
yeah,
really your formative years. Then why do they call it your formative years when your character is already formed?
not character necessarily, just some of your base automatic ways of being. So
Oh,
let's just say that you're a more anxious person. That's kind of like set for you by age 7. Uh
were you anxious as a 7-year-old? Do you remember?
yes. Uh
Oh,
I I had a really bad episode of anxiety in first grade, and I actually stopped eating for an entire week, maybe longer, I'm not
what?
sure. Yeah, and my mom was threatening to put me in the hospital, which would stress me out, but I still didn't want to eat. And so my dad tricked me. He took me to work with him, basically making me like move some logs around outside, and got me like nice and exhausted. And then he offered me a Snickers bar, and I took a bite of
Ah,
it. And then he said, if you eat this whole Snickers bar, um, then you could have something. And then he said, let's go home and I'll make you pancakes. And if you eat the pancakes, then I'll get you whatever you want. And so I did. I went home and I ate the pancakes and I got a dog.
ah. Wait, why didn't you, why, when you say anxiety, were you anxious because you thought the food was bad, it was gonna kill you, harmful, bacteria like, or did you feel like if I ate my stomach would stretch out? Like, what were you thinking as a child?
Oh, yeah, I forgot that part. I had a really bad phobia of throwing up. And so I came to the conclusion that if I didn't eat, I couldn't throw up.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. Okay.
Yeah. So, and that was, I assume that was because at age 5, I got a shot. And after I had the shot, I was really, really sick. And like everything I had made me throw up, even if it was a sip of water. So I was just like
Oh.
puking all day. And I
Mm.
assume that that's what brought the whole thing on. Um, and then it just like progressively would get worse. I think like one time I woke up in the middle of the night and I threw up. And so after that, I was afraid to go to sleep at night because I was like, oh God, if I go to sleep, what if I wake up and throw up? So
Oh.
yeah, it was bad. Like I would literally be shaking in my bed.
Oh, poor little Alicia.
Yeah. Totally irrational, totally ridiculous. But to this day, I don't like vomiting. I can tell you that.
But you also deal with anxiety as an
Yes.
adult still.
Yes.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah, that was the first appearance of my anxiety was first grade. I think I was like 6.
Mm. Wow. So maybe it is kind of true, right? Like but what does how does trauma affect that child that's already formed? Like, let's say you start, you start, I don't know, you move to a new city and then there was a bully in school, and that bully was, just chose you and picked on you every single day for until you, I don't know, until you graduated elementary school. But it ends up being like when you were 8, 9, 10, 3 years. And but your personality was developed before that. How does it have an effect on that overall personality?
Trauma's always has an effect on us. I've only met one person that seems somewhat unfazed by his severe trauma. But I don't know, maybe that's just who he is. There's always exceptions to the rule, right? But for the most part, I think trauma affects everybody, and how it affects you probably depends on all kinds of things like your temperament, the other experiences that you already had, the I believe having my own children that you come out a certain way. Like
Mm.
my youngest is much more empathetic than my oldest. And she's just like that. I didn't teach her to be like
Mm.
that. And I didn't teach her sister not to be like that. That's just how they are. And what's interesting is that that's also how me and Sebastian are. Like Sebastian's a great person, but he is not as empathetic as I am. I have more of like a bleeding heart. As a therapist, that's not too surprising, I suppose. And he is kind of like, F that, so he's like, well, that's just stupid. That doesn't make any sense. And I'm like, he doesn't understand depression. He doesn't understand suicide. He doesn't get any of that. And, we've talked about suicide before. I've never felt like I really wanted to kill myself, but I can understand how a person can get there. He doesn't
Yes.
understand how a person can get there. So it's interesting to me because in that way, I think that my oldest child is more like him and my youngest child is more like me when it comes to empathy. And they have the same
Okay.
parents. We're essentially doing the same thing with them. I know, who's that guy? He's really popular right now, Gabe something. And he's saying, well, no two children have the same parents. Okay, I understand what you're saying because we respond differently depending on how the child is. But the point to me is just that they're different right away.
Yeah.
So and they do say that temperament is 40% of our personality, and we're born a certain temperament. So at least 40% of you is already sort of predetermined based on your biology.
Mm.
And then
that's so interesting.
And then how you respond to trauma is going to depend on all of that.
That temperament. Right.
Yeah.
So interesting. And so I wonder, maybe my trauma or my character, that's how I respond to social media. That's how I have I'm not really a person. I just don't I just found myself when I was on social media for that short period of time. I found myself, taking a million pictures and choosing the best one, and checking on my posts a couple hours later, how many people liked it, who liked it first, who was the most recent liked, on it. And and I remember being affected by it. Like, how come, how come my sister liked my other sister's picture and didn't like my picture? And and that could be hours after, and it's like, maybe she never seen the picture, maybe she didn't log in yet, maybe she, it could have been everything. Or maybe that picture, she was so busy, she just scrolled through and she wasn't in the mood to liking things or whatever, right? And I don't have those voices. The voices in my head at the time sounded more like, that's a stupid picture, why do you think anybody would like it? Or, oh, you think you're so much cooler than that person? Or like, oh, you're not that pretty in that picture, or the background's not that impressive. It's like, you're not doing such cool things, come on, you're not that cool. So
You're
that was my
so cool, Julie. That is definitely not true.
thing.
You would have to have a mindset switch then. I was talking to a client about that this week. Like, if I text people, I most of the time forget that I've texted them. Unless I'm asking someone a question, I don't remember that I text them. So I just send it out and forget about it. And I feel the same way on social media. Like, yes, I look at it and I see, I don't know. Honestly, I don't know how many likes most of my crap gets. And I think like every now and then Instagram and Facebook will tell you like, this is your most liked post, or this was at the end of the year, they'll tell you like, this was your most popular post of the year. But normally I'm not really paying attention to who's liking my stuff and who's not. I just put it up there. And I guess the way that I think about it is I'm saving memories.
No.
And I'm sharing with people who want to see it. Not everybody cares, not everybody pays attention, not everybody's even going to see it. Maybe someone's jealous of my life and they've muted me. I don't know. I have no idea, and that could be true for, let's say, a friend who's struggling to get pregnant. Maybe they don't want to see kids in their face every 2 minutes. I mean, I wouldn't. Or a person who doesn't have kids and isn't interested in them. Maybe that's why they, you have to try to use the more flexible part of your brain to think of other alternatives. What else could be going on other than this picture's stupid? And honestly, stupid pictures are the ones that are the most fun sometimes. So
No.
is it really an issue of your content?
I am channeling the person I was, 15 years ago now? About 15 years ago. So it isn't, so I'm not that same person. So I don't know how I would respond with social media now, because I do have content and opinions and quotes that I found that I would like to share, because I feel like it would benefit people, So I see social media a little bit different. That's why I'm a little bit more open to it. Number one, I get to actually connect with my friends and seeing if they have kids or not. I have a big milestone thing going on with their lives. But I also feel like it could be a platform for me to just share what I learned to get to where I am, when it comes to my level of happiness or any of that stuff. So I kind of play with that in my head sometimes.
I think that's a really cool way to think about it, is like, how can I help other people through social media? That's a cool way of thinking about it.
Yeah. Because everybody has life experiences. And the thing is, when you are vulnerable, when you are willing to say the things are on your behind the scenes reel versus constant highlight reel, celebrities get bashed on that all the time. They're like, that's why I think they get praised when celebrities don't wear makeup, or when, like those little moments, or when, Selena Gomez was saying, I might be, I don't know, paraphrasing this wrong, but she was saying how she was not so happy with her body, but then she, came out and said, you know what, I feel great today. And then she posed, I guess she posed next to a boat or something like that, and other celebrities start making fun of her or something, like trying to body shame her maybe. I'm not really good with this current event stuff. So
People are gross. That's
yeah, but
terrible.
they're like, I think it was a Kardashian and Haley Bieber or something like that. It was like kind of making fun of her. And
Well,
then
Haley Bieber, I wouldn't be surprised, but the Kardashians, really? Come on, ladies, do better.
I think they're friends with her or something. I don't know, whatever, right? But it's like, like and what they do every day is Photoshop their whole thing so they don't get bullied and they don't do all this stuff, and then they turn around and bully somebody else. It's like, are we in the cycle of hatred, and like, how do you break this?
People do love to hate. They do. And I think the here's how I think about it. When we were tribal people, right, back in history, ancient times, uh you had to believe that your tribe was better than the other tribe.
Okay.
Otherwise, why be in your tribe? So I think that we still have that mentality, like it's carried with us all throughout time. Like, my group is better than your group, and here's the reasons why. And even like unconsciously, I think when we enter a room, we evaluate where we fit in. Like you were just talking prior to us getting online about when you go into these meetings, sometimes you're the only woman and sometimes you're the only minority, and you evaluate that unconsciously. It's just something that you notice, right? And that's what we do. We sort of look for, where do I think I will fit in? And we're not thinking about it like that, but we are unconsciously evaluating to see, like, where do I fit? Where do I belong? And then when we find a place where we feel like we could belong, now I need to believe that this group is better to belong to than that group. And maybe that group is stupid, or maybe they're a different color, or whatever kind of bullshit you come up with to make yourself feel like you're better. The same thing exists in socioeconomic status. When somebody graduates a socioeconomic status, they often come up with a narrative of why they're better now because they graduated from their class. And it is incredibly difficult to graduate from your class. It is an unusual phenomenon. However, it isn't always because what do people like to say it is? They like to say it's hard work. I just worked hard and that's how I got here. And that's not always true. The research shows that the people who are the most successful are often the least traumatized, the least or the most neuronormative. So they're not neurodivergent. And there's a lot of nepotism, which is favoritism, that goes on. So like, I'm not trying to like introduce any controversy, but Kanye West like went off about the Jews helping the Jews, basically like, oh, it's a conspiracy. And in some ways you could say that there's a level of truth to that. Is Kanye a little off at times? Absolutely. But there's a level of truth to that. Like, especially in Jewish culture, they tend to help each other out. And, oh, you have a Jewish last name? Oh, I'm interested, and that's not unusual in any group. Like
Right.
I relate to you in some way. Let me see if I can help you out. So there's
and you don't have to say, you don't have to say specifically what culture too. You could, like, I know that like I'm part of a group of female entrepreneurs, and we're just female entrepreneurs, so right off bat we relate, and I'm able to be more vulnerable right off bat when I'm meeting them. And other things, like there was I know there was a law firm that specifically targeted single mothers, right? Or helped, not targeted, but like their target market was single mothers. But then they were single mothers, and that's why they wanted to help single mothers. And because it was relatable. They had a common, they had one common goal, basically, right?
Yeah. the point is that we have these narratives that like, I'm better than these people for this reason, or I made it to this place for this reason. And those narratives aren't true. They aren't true. They're just things that we came up with to make ourselves feel better or gas ourselves up, essentially.
Yeah.
So, and we have control to change our narratives at any point and say like, I think I told you last time about the guy who was saying, we're tall white guys, so it's easier for us, you know? And
Yeah.
so we can acknowledge that at any point and say like, well, yes, I worked hard, but so did the immigrants that pick the oranges in the trees. So is hard work really what got me here?
Yeah. And I think, I guess with social media, it's more, for me, it's more of a, I don't know, I feel like there's, I don't know, it kind of makes me feel like there's a lot of entitlement there. I kind of have a negative, you know, negative perspective of social media, but I think I need to reframe that, because social media has made people millions, have really created an avenue where people can easily access things. Like if I wanted help with an article, or like even writing a book. Let's say I wanted to help getting a book. You could go on social media and people would be like, "Hey, I wrote a book. This is what I blah 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 blah." You know what I mean? And you could find a lot of things, even like cosmetic stuff. I got my eyebrows tattooed, like or semi-permanent makeup a couple years back, and I Googled. I don't have social media. I try to Google it, try to find, but you can only find places. Who I ended up going to was a person that was famous on her social media and created a brick and mortar afterward. But I didn't find her. My cousin found her through her social media and then saw thousands, if not, I think it was like hundreds of thousands of followers, maybe even a million. I don't know, but like just a ton of followers. That I'm looking at all her work and I'm like, this is amazing. And it was not offered on a regular Google. She didn't have a website and she didn't have a Yelp. So it wasn't, if my cousin didn't find her, I would never have found her.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of free ads and there's a lot of free agency in social media, which is nice because you get to represent yourself. You get to choose what you put on your own social media. You have control of that. And you have control of choosing to read the comments or not. So I need to start
You
reframing
can
that, because
turn the comments off too.
maybe I should do that. Maybe I should do that. And then can I turn off like people liking or not liking it? I want to not know that. I just want to post.
That
No,
I
I
don't
probably
know.
I
I
don't
I
want to
haven't looked into that. We could research it.
but I wonder, because I know that there's some content that would help. Like somebody today, I was at an event, a market networking event, and somebody was talking about their architectural work. And I was like, really? And he helps design like $30 million homes. It's like, wow, what? And he's like, and I just started. I was like, what? And he's like, because he used to be architect for a company, well, very known company, and he's doing on his own now. And he's like, yeah, I've had 5 projects so far. And I was like, where'd you find them? He's like, social media. So it's like, what? That's crazy, you know? And these are strangers to him. These are people that they found, they interviewed him, they liked him, they did all this stuff, whatever, and then they just, and they chose him. But it was like he would not have had that opportunity if he didn't put himself out there.
Yeah. Yeah, and you're right. You do have control over what you post, and people will have opinions. And sometimes they'll share them and you won't like them. And sometimes they'll keep them to themselves. But most of the time, especially when it's like friends that you're dealing with, people aren't saying negative things. They're only commenting if they have something positive to say. It's strangers usually that have the shit to say anyway.
Yeah, that's true. I don't think my mom would be like, ew, gross.
I can't believe you posted that. You look horrible.
Just say it to my face. She doesn't need social media to do that.
Yeah. some moms may do that, but that's another story, I'm sure.
I'm sure. No, after this conversation is making me feel like, okay, there's a lot of benefits in social media. There's also, pros and cons to everything, like I said. And maybe nowadays it's just more pros and cons is starting to look like.
I guess my cautions would be make it work for yourself. Follow the types of messages that you want to see on a regular basis. Mute the ones that you don't want to see. And if you really are like anxious about something you're posting, then turn off the comments. That way nobody can say shit. There's some people, there's like these spam people that like to comment on my work social media, and they're always talking about some herb doctor who got rid of their herpes. It's always like the same story. But the other day I posted something and 3 people commented with the same story about like how some herb doctor cured their herpes or whatever. And I tried to reply back because I just try to reply back just to like, stimulate the algorithm. And they had it so that you couldn't use their name in a reply back. So there's a lot of different restrictions you can add these days.
And also you could lock it. You could put a timer.
Yes. There's that too.
So I guess our recommendation is, if you do social media, remind yourself you have control of what you put on. You could turn off the comments. You could put a timer on in case you feel like you're using it too much. You can mute their stories if you feel like they're affecting you. And it could be a really good opportunity to share with your world, and you can make your account private too.
And on TikTok in particular, if you're watching the videos and you're getting information, the other recommendation that I would have is to look up that information afterwards. Don't just believe what you see on videos.
True. Good point.
Because sometimes somebody can say they're a doctor and who knows what they're a doctor of. And I think that happened during the pandemic. Some like chiropractor whose name had doctor in it was talking about coronavirus as if he was an authority, and he's a freaking chiropractor. What do you have to say about viruses?
As Dr. New, like I could just introduce myself as doctor if I had social media, and if you never researched it, I'd not even be a chiropractor. I literally could just say, oh no, I just call myself doctor. It's a family name.
It's a family name. Yeah, exactly. So look stuff up. If you think you found something interesting, look it up, see what else is out there as far as information is concerned. But yeah, I think it's fun. And I've learned as a therapist a lot on social media about mental health, and I've really enjoyed a lot of the stuff that people are posting about mental health, even stuff that people are posting that they'll say, okay guys, I had therapy today and my therapist said blah 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 and it blew my mind. I love hearing that stuff. So I get a lot from social media. Clients send me stuff too, and they'll be like, what do you think about this? I love that. That's so fantastic.
I do have some people sending me really good quotes or really good snippets of interviews. I go, oh, that's a good one. Ooh, pearls of wisdom. Hell yeah. So there's the parts of that I miss, and I go, oh, I want to see.
Yeah, and there's like one of my social medias is basically all positive quotes.
I love it.
And I do that just because people need to see that.
You're flipping my view of it. I was very like, oh, now I'm like, I'm warming up to it. Maybe in a couple of years. Yeah.
That's hilarious. In a couple of years, I'm gonna be ready for this.
Yeah. I like it.
So anyway, well, good. I'm glad you could be flexible in your thinking. just today at Liliana's therapy, the therapist was teaching her about her brain. And she did it like she made this little house. And on the bottom floor is your warning person and the person who gets anxious. And then there's somebody called the big boss. And when the warning signs and the anxiety start to go off, the big boss has to call upstairs to the people who are a little bit smarter. And upstairs, you have your problem solving part of your brain, the flexible part of your brain, and the calming part of your brain. So the big boss is like, hey, the alarms are going off down here. Is there really anything to be concerned about? And the problem solving part of your brain puts it on speaker and is like, well, tell us what's going on. And so then the flexible thinking and the calming work with the problem solving to tell the big boss, like, is there really cause for alarm right now? Because as we were saying in the beginning, if you're programmed by age 7, let's say that you're programmed to be afraid of roaches, but do you really have a reason to be afraid of a roach? Like, there's very little a roach can do to hurt you.
They're scary. Ain't gonna lie. Come on, if a huge roach climbed from under your chair, right? Oh, it's climbing up your arm.
That's happened to me before. I actually had them in my pants. I was at a client's house who had roaches everywhere, and the roach crawled into my pants. Yeah, that was it. I was like, it came out while I was driving, and I was like, oh shit.
Oh,
yeah.
wait, it into your pants while you're in the session. You go into your car, so it's in your pants the whole time, against your leg.
I mean, I didn't feel it until I was in the car.
That is crazy.
Yeah, it's pretty gross. But anyways, the point is, like,
sorry, that threw me off.
your body might start reacting to a cockroach, but then your problem solving part of your brain could say, hold on, all we have to do is squash it. We're way bigger than this roach. We can kill it. It's no big deal. And then
the calming guy. Then what's the other guy? Flexible.
Yeah. So you were exercising your flexible part of your brain today by trying to think about this in a different way.
I like it. Okay. It's like, don't worry. You weren't the same person you were 15 years ago. You're stronger than this. You're okay. The problem solver's like, you do want to grow your business. A personal brand would be great. And you want people to get on that Therapy is Dope podcast. Yeah, you should. You have a lot of experience that might help people. You should try.
Yes, see?
Give me a couple of years.
And then the flexible part of your brain was saying, maybe this isn't as bad as I thought it was. Maybe there's some other benefits. So see, look, we just used our anxious house.
Dude, you know how I love free advice and a free exercise help? This was a perfect exercise to think about your brain in 3 different ways. Oh, this is good. So the next time anybody has an anxious feeling, address those 3 things. And maybe you could speak in those voices. Like, what would my problem solver sound like? What would my calming brain sound like? And what would my flexible brain sound like? Oh my God, this is gold.
And the therapist mentioned that sometimes if you're really, really anxious, there's nothing you can do except take time to go calm yourself. So you find a space where you can relax and breathe and focus on relaxing yourself. And after you get yourself relaxed, then you can problem solve. But when you're too anxious and you're too worked up, you can't problem solve at all. So you have to do that calming first, and then you can problem solve.
Oh, I like it. Okay, cool.
So anyway, yeah, that's a little fun tidbit to end on.
I love it.
All right, we'll see you guys soon. Hopefully these tips work for you.
Thanks.